Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Oops, forgot something there, didn't I? Hold on a sec. Hold on. Forgot to got to mute my TV there. Anyways, I hope everybody had a good weekend. We had a pretty good weekend panel last night. Talked about a few things. Um, as you guys know, Rick is not going to be joining me tonight. He's got himself a date, so I hope that will be doing well. Anyways, we are going to wait a few minutes to give people a chance to come in and join us. In the chat. So I hope everybody's having a good weekend. As always, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Okay, just waiting to see if more people show up. We do have a few stories coming up tonight, as it were. Um, so, anyways, I'm gonna step away from the computer one more time here. Hopefully, so I'll be right back. Let me put on some music for you guys, and then when I come back, we'll probably talk a little bit about what's on tap. All right, so now that I'm back here, let's talk about what's on tap for tonight as we're coming up on the 5 minute mark. So I do have three articles to go over tonight, all from Bleeding, well, all comics related. Indiegogo bleeds more indie comics talent with suspicious glitch. We'll find out. That was from the last Thursday, the 27th. Couple of interesting comic book video game announcements from last Friday, and then DC Comics finding themselves in an AI art quagmire, which was just put up today. So we got three articles we're going to go over. Plus, we'll of course do the wrestling round. Quite a bit going on in the world of wrestling, including, of course, this past weekend's Forbidden Door per view from AEW. This weekend's WE tonight with Raw will be finalizing their preparations for Money in the Bank, which comes up this weekend. And to see who wins the briefcase and who will answer the call over the next year. And then, of course, we'll also talk a little bit about TNA as they continue their march towards Slammiversary coming up on um, 2 weeks from this Saturday, I believe. So with that though, and of course we'll have this day in each history as well, July 1st. So we are basically already halfway through the year. We're now starting the second half of the year here, July 1st. So why don't we go ahead and get into it? If you haven't already, guys, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with all that being said, let's get going here. So let's get to the first article here. Alrighty. So the first one here is this one, the Indiegogo. All right, so Indiegogo bleeds more indie comics talent with suspicious glitch, and the word glitch is in parentheses there. Written by Victor James and published back on June 27, 2024, which was, of course, last Thursday. So let's take a look at this. You got that Spider Girl, I guess, caught up in a web there. So let's take a look at this. So this is Victor talking, the guy writing the article. As I've reported before, Indiegogo has a mysterious glitch that essentially shadow bans independent comics from being found on their site. Creators have been given little customer support and no chance to fix the glitch, resulting in a loss of their investment in their work. Yeah, it doesn't sound much like Indiegogo is really a way to go these days. Bleeding Fool has documented Indiegogo's shadow banning before. John Malin, Mike Barron, Shane Davis, Aaron Lopresti, Graham Nolan, Andy Smith, John. All right. These are the names Indiegogo has shadow banned or outright banned in the past. Now, X53 Studios, creators of the popular Arachna comic series, who have experienced this problem before, has announced that they will no longer be creating Indiegogo comic campaigns. Yeah, that's kind of what happens when you start shadow banning people and you start if you basically start if you start sticking your middle finger up at your customer base, eventually you're just going to say, you know something, forget you, I'm out of here. You don't want my business? Fine, I'll take my business elsewhere. I'll just take my business elsewhere, and then you can all just go and you know what to do with it. So, anyways, continuing on. Here is a letter X53 Studios has sent to their backers. Emphasis mine. Okay. Hi, everyone. We are thrilled to announce that Carlos has completed the artwork for Arachna 3, and the quality is nothing short of spectacular. While the process took longer than anticipated, we are now down to the final 10 days, which need to be colored, or 10 pages, which need to be colored and lettered. Once that's done, the book will be finished. Please keep an eye out for backer kit surveys, which will be sent out in July. Now, for some bittersweet news. This will be our last campaign on Indiegogo. The shadow ban has significantly impacted us, and the effort required to create and manage campaigns only to have them banned without explanation is simply unsustainable. Moving forward, we will focus exclusively on Kickstarter projects and will also explore BackerKit as an option. For those who love X53 books, we sincerely hope you will continue to support us on Kickstarter. Well, I would also recommend to X53 that they might want to check out Fund My Comic. As we all know, a number of the people that they talked about have gone over to Fund My Comic as well and found success as well. So that's another option for them to look into. We want to express our deepest gratitude to all our backers and supporters. Your contributions have been invaluable, and we couldn't have done this without you. This venture has always been about creating fun comics, not making money, and we are incredibly thankful for your unwavering support. We will continue to provide updates on Arachna 3 here. Thank you once again for being a part of this journey with us, and please consider supporting the Omada here. All right, so and this kind of looks like, I guess this could be maybe from some of their projects there. Let's see. Hey, good night, Spoon. No elk tonight? Well, I guess not yet. He sometimes just comes in late, so you know how that goes sometimes. Anyways, as we continue on. Oh, this is the Omada. This is from the Omada right there. That girl, like right there up front there. I don't know if that is Omada or not, but her attire there is more akin to the Golden Age Wonder Woman, from what I can tell. The link takes you to Kickstarter. There was a time when indie comic creators flocked to Indiegogo after Kickstarter began to ban certain comic creators. Now the trend is reversed, and Indiegogo continues to lose talent to their supposed rivals. I won't be surprised when comic creator Damfan, does the same thing after her Indiegogo glitch experience. And they hopefully X53 links their campaigns to Fund My Comic, which I was also recommending there. If when Kickstarter decides to return to their old ways, it's the only way to be sure. Yeah, well, I'd say don't even wait for Kickstarter. I mean, you can still use Kickstarter if you want, but try some Fund My Comic stuff. See how you do with that, Oh, and here's some fan service for you, everybody. Guess this might be from Arachna. Hail Xenu and Xena. I'm just lurking. I had a question for him. Oh, hi. How was your day, Herr Ritter Spooner? Do we have 4 people for tomorrow? Let's see. Not great. Can't shake your headache. Verge of migraine. How was your day? All right. Well, anyways, again, guys, if you guys can help out, of course, by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's see. Sort of. I invited a friend today that said they'd join us, but she is feeling blue and bailed last minute, last week, and other plans we had. Okay. All right. So, anyways, getting back to the article here, as we some nice fan service here. When you like, when any of us like to find ourselves in this situation, or at least being, X53 Studios Swimsuit Edition. Check out my superhero novel, Fiasco Adventures, here or here. Also, read my latest short story set in the mega cosm called Liquid Bank on my Substack for free. So, I guess Victor James is also a comic book creator. So, I might want to go check that out. Well, let me see those. Maybe I will just go. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, bro. Yeah, well, hopefully that will. Yeah, that's a tricky thing about the Amazon about the Amazon stuff. Is that all right? So, and then let me go grab the other link as well here. This is the Barnes and Noble. And of course, that first link is the Amazon link. Next link's gonna be the Barnes and Noble link. So let's get this up there. All right. You guys want to go check out those campaigns, or his campaigns there, Victor James's. So there's his Victor James Barnes and Noble campaign. So you guys might want to go check that out. All right. So With that, why don't we go ahead and get ready to move on to the next article then? See what's going on there. As soon as I bring that up, of course. All right, so here's another one. Couple of interesting comic book video game announcements. Article by Avi Green, published Friday, June 28th, 2024. All right, so Game Watcher says that there is a new computer game coming out that emphasizes the most insufferably cliched genre of modern times, which dampens the impact of any comic setting put to use in the game. Let's see, and this is, I guess, from the article. Alawar and Launch.me are collaborating on Exiler, an adventure horror game set in a comic book world. In this game, you play as Adam Wayne, an exorcist detective, tasked with banishing demonic entities. All right. So, anyways, that it builds on any comics inspirations would have been much more exciting if it weren't for how they fell back on the classic cliche of horror themes. What is so exciting about this, I'll never know. Well, there was a time when horror comics were pretty popular, so I don't this case I don't know what Avi's going to complain about here, but let's see. Okay, what would make something like this a lot more inspiring is if they made use of bright adventure themes and comedy. Instead, they insult the intellect with yet more resorting to darkness, which we have too much of already in the real world at this point. I think I would basically kind of agree with Avi on that point. There is people do focus a little too much on the dark side of things, not necessarily enough on the brighter stuff. This is not something a typical comics fan should look forward to, and video game players shouldn't finance it either. On the other hand, IGN reports there's a new compilation from Capcom of their old series of Marvel vs. Capcom games, which even includes the 1993 Punisher game, co-starring Nick Fury. Now, this is from the article. Let's see if you guys are saying anything here. Oh, nothing new there in the comments. A grand total of 7 games are included in this collection, with release dates spanning 1993 to 2000. One notable, in parentheses, non-fighting game inclusion is The Punisher, a beat-em-up game that kicked off the partnership between Marvel and Capcom. These aren't just straight ports of the games. Capcom has added plenty of extra features and quality of life improvements. The biggest new piece is online play, so you don't need to have friends over to go head to head or play the Punisher in co-op. You can play online in casual or ranked matches, There's a leaderboard for high score challenges and screen filters to make the games look more how they did on CRT displays. There's Avi speaking again here coming up. All right, so without a doubt, the new release of their Punisher adaptation makes for a most interesting moment in marketing if we consider where Marvel's sadly gone with Frank Castle in the past decade. All because the leftist running the store there now view Gary Conway's creation as quote unquote right wing, including left leaning Conway himself. Capcom certainly did the right thing, making sure to reissue this now over 3 decade old game for playing anew, and I hope all planned Marvel Epic collections from that era will eventually be published. So, so Avi speaking highly of this situation, and I'm glad this collection of games only goes as far as 2000 because what came years later was more an exercise in political correctness, recalling how poor the most recent entry was with only 4 heroines on the list. They relied upon the woke edition of Carol Danvers to boot. Of course, even Marvel Superheroes versus Capcom had the unfortunate problem of lacking any superheroes on the select menu, and only 2 women from Capcom's side were put to use. In other games where Marvel heroines were present, IIRC, it was mainly ladies from X-Men who were added to the menus, and no serious consideration of, say, Avengers women, if at all. So, in hindsight, I wish I could say I appreciate this new game collection more than I do. But as I recall, Marvel inexplicably wouldn't allow proper use of all its character roster at the time, and one of the games would only make use of War Machine instead of Iron Man, apparently because Marvel wouldn't approve the licensing requirements for Tony Stark's alter ego. Yeah, there you got Iron Man, got Mega Man. I think that's Marvel's Captain Marvel, and Ryu. That said, this news makes me think I should try to highlight news about video games more than I actually have until now. If only because video games can be pretty close to comics and animation as an illustrated medium. As such, there can be advantages to highlighting news of video games more often. All right, so there we go with that one. We'll get ready to do the next one here, but I think I'm going to need to step away from the computer one more time here. And let's see. Well, it looks like Elk. Avi mysteriously thinks the world is too dark for horror, but loves the Punisher and this game. Avi's weird. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think you just have a bias against Avi. Is what it sounds like, Elk. So, anyways, I do need to step away one more time from the computer. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on to at least keep you guys entertained while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Um, all right. So, anyways, all right. So let's get back to the articles, and we have one more before we get into the wrestling wrap up. So the final article of the night came out today. DC Comics is finding themselves in an AI art quagmire. Article by Avi Green, published July 1st, 2024. So let's see what he has to say here. ICV2 wrote about the resurfacing of DC's recent scandal with AI artwork. This time caused by an artist named Francesco Mattina, who submitted what was apparently AI-based artwork for publication despite rules against it. All right, so this is, I guess, from the ICV2 article. Now, that's a site that I know that Yellow Flash has used in the past to talk about, the sales numbers for comics as well. In terms of the volume and the volumes that are sold and all that. So. All right. So, anyways, continuing on here. So, it was bound to happen. AI-based art generation tools are too easy, too ubiquitous, and too almost good for some professional artists to avoid the temptation of taking a creative shortcut, especially if extensive quote unquote reference of other artists, in smaller quotes, work is already part of their workflow. Last week, already controversial cover artist Francesco Mattina got called out for a Superman variant that bore some suspicious evidence of AI generation. Today, DC has replaced his scheduled covers in their latest solicitation. For those immersed in the controversies that generative AI is causing in the creative community, this is an interesting, troubling, but potentially positive development. Backlash apparently did lead to the desired outcome, and other artists have been put on notice that their peers are watching and publishers are willing to draw the line. But for everyone else, what's the big deal? Why was Martina, whose work was popular enough in some corners of fandom and retail, singled out for a cover that doesn't look much different from other stuff on the racks? What's going on? If you haven't been following along at home, here's a rundown. Last week, DC solicited a variant cover for Action Comics number 1069 by Martina. Artist Adi Granoff noted a telltale sign of AI art, a small flaw in the image. In parentheses here, in this case, an imperfection in Superman's S symbol, unparenthesed, that a human artist would not make, especially not in such a labored rendered piece. Granoff blistered Martina in a social media post that not only called out the example, but also noted his generally poor reputation as a swiper, quote unquote photo basher, in parentheses here, manipulating digital photos, create backgrounds and other pictorial images, on parentheses. So I guess that's their way of explaining what a photo basher is, and shady character dating back decades. Let's see now. See if anybody's seen anything as yet. Nope. Apparently, a lot of people have knives out for Martina, because the online response was nearly unanimous. And over the weekend, DC's revised Superman solicitations included replacements for all the variant covers that he was in line to deliver, including Superman number 18, Brave and the Bold number 17, and several others. Martina has already reportedly been blackballed at other publishers over accusations of plagiarism. Now, here's Avi's response to, I guess, what was just said there. Gee whiz, what are these quote-unquote artists thinking? Do they really want to destroy their creators that badly, as this Martina unfortunately has? Sad. Though saddest of all is how scandals like these serve as distractions of how poor modern storytelling is, and nobody wants to admit that if the publishers are putting out woke propaganda, it's a huge letdown. So I think here, what Avi's getting at here is these people are harping on this guy because they want people to ignore the fact that they're just, instead of writing good stories, they're trying to push, agendas. I think that's what he. And before you start saying, where's the evidence? Where everybody knows the evidence. Okay. Um, let's see. It's a huge letdown. Come to think of it, so is what I've seen of this Ranoff's artwork, which looks far too computerized in some cases. So what a shame Martinez given him the opportunity to virtue signal. All right. I'm sure even Marvel's had at least a few AI generated covers published themselves. So how odd if only DC takes the brunt of the criticism here. And while Rob Liefeld, by contrast, may have drawn his own, in brackets, uninspired artwork, it sure is strange why, for many years, few seem to take serious issue with Marvel DC's repeated hirings of an artist whose style was alarmingly sloppy, proving even real artists can be as incompetent as computers can. For now, this can look pretty bad for EC's current EIC, Marie Javins. Unfortunately, it's unlikely she'll be asked to resign. And even then, there's no chance an editor interested in mending the massive damage caused since the turn of the century to their continuity will be appointed. All right, so there we go with that. So that's all the articles we'll go over. Now, of course, um, getting to the talking a bit about wrestling wrap up. So let me talk a little bit first about, of course, as I said, on July 20th. On July 20th, TNA will be having its Slammiversary event from from Montreal. All right, so yeah, on Saturday, July 20th, um, you know, from the Viridium Auditorium in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Already signed for the event, of course. Jordan Grace defends the TNA Knockouts World Title against Ash by Elegance. Mustafa Ali to defend the X Division title against Speedball Mike Bailey in his hometown of Montreal. And then in a six-way elimination match, four of the participants have already qualified for the Slammiversary through of course, Moose, the world champion, and then the other three who qualified thus far include Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, and Nick Nemeth, with two more qualifying matches for that match to occur. Um, on this past Thursday's from this past Thursday's Impact, um, it aired this last Thursday. Opening match saw Masha Slamovich with her Knockouts Tag Team Championship partner Alicia Edwards of the System in her corner, defeating Zaya Brookside. Let's see. Also, in a triple threat tag team match, ABC, who has Ace Austin and Chris Bay, who still have their contractual rematch due them from the System, defeated the teams of Cody Deaner and Jake Something and the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Tiger Wentz. In a Road to Slammiversary qualifying match, Steve Macklin, of course, defeated Sami Callihan. And the other Road to Slammiversary qualifying match, Nick Nemeth qualified against Rick Swan, and in the other match, in the match in between those two matches, Kushida defeated Alan Angels. So that's all that happened on. Let's see. You're brilliant. Well, thank you there, Finn. Keep talking, and no one explodes. This AI? No, not AI. Thoughts on communism? Well, I'm communism is bad. That's all I'll say about it. Anyways, now moving on to AEW, as of course last night AEW held its Forbidden Door event, which had talent from not just AEW but also from New Japan, Stardom, and CMLL. On the 0 hour pre-show, Kyle Fletcher defeated Serpentico in just over 3 minutes, regaining some momentum coming off of his recent loss of the Ring of Honor World Television title to Atlantis Jr. down in Mexico. In a 4-way tag team match, the Kings of the Black Throne of Malachi Black and Brody King defeated the teams of Gabe Kidd and Roderick Strong, Tomohiro Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly, and Private Party of Isaiah Cathy and Mark Quinn. In another tag team match, in a match that pitted on opposite ends, two women who will be meeting in a semifinal match coming up this Wednesday on Dynamite in the female bracket of the Owen Hart tournament. Willow Nightingale teamed with Tam Nakano to take on Nightingale's opponent in the semifinal match for the Owen Hart tournament, Chris Statlander, who teamed with Momo Watanabe. Now, of course, in the winners of the Owen Hart tournament will each be getting the respective title shots. In the men's bracket, the winner of that tournament will be getting a title shot at the AEW World title right now, that being Swerve Strickland. And the women on the women's side, the winner of that tournament will be getting a shot at Toni Storm, the current AEW Women's World. In the final of the women's quarterfinal matches, Mariah May defeated Saraya to advance to the semifinals to take on 3-time AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida. Let's see. What do you make of the Raw? I have no idea. I had no idea about that. Anyways, and then in the main event of the pre-show, the Lucha Brothers of Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix teamed with Major League Wrestling World Middleweight Champion and current CMLL star Mystico to defeat a team representing New Japan, Los Ingobernables de Japón of Hiromu Takahashi, Titan, and Yota Tsuji. And now for the main pay-per-view, the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, former AEW World Champion MJF defeated CMLL star Hechicero in a 6-man tag match. The Elite, composed of AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada and AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, defeated the team of Hiroshi Tanahashi, the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Of course, the Acclaimed have a title shot coming up soon against the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag. In a men's quarterfinal match in the Owen Hart tournament, Bryan Danielson defeated New Japan's Shingo Takagi. In the match for the women's world title, Toni Storm defeated Mina Shirakawa. Interesting little tidbit happened after this match, as after the match, Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, and Mariah May shared a three-way kiss, which was kind of interesting. Kind of seems like they're playing up this whole lesbian love triangle thing between the three of them. So that's kind of an interesting thing going on. Let's see. Let those dogs out. Woof, woof. Okay. Anyways, Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Orange Cassidy at the end of a six-man tag match. The team of Hook, Samoa Joe, and Katsuyori Shibata took on the Learning Tree tag team of Big Bill and Chris Jericho, and also Jeff Cobb teaming with them. Jeff Cobb of the United Empire faction over in New Japan. In a match for the vacant AEW TNT title, in the latter match, Jack Perry outlasted Dante Martin, El Fantasma, Konosuke Takeshita, Leo Rush, and Mark Briscoe, and Ring of Honor World Champion Mark Briscoe. Jack Perry, who's a part of the Elite, of course, adding more gold to their faction, as of course the EVPs are the AEW World Tag Team Champions, and Kazuchika Okada is the Continental Champion. Of course, this is title was vacated when Edge was injured in a match against Malachi Black, back at Double or Nothing. The EVPs had tried to give the title to Perry only for Christopher Daniels, who was hired on as another VP to kind of counteract their, kind of to stand in for Tony Khan, to counteract the Elite attempted takeover. Then you have in a match unification match for the AEW TBS and New Japan Strong Women's title. The TBS champion Mercedes Moné, who everybody also remembers as Sasha Banks, defeated Stephanie Valcour to become the Strong Women's champion as well. Tetsuya Naito regained the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship from Jon Moxley. And in the main event, Swerve Strickland retained the AEW World title over Will Ospreay, currently the AEW International Champion. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about WWE news, as of course this Saturday is Money in the Bank, as the WWE is looking to set up for that. So first out, let's talk a little bit about the matches that are what's already set for this Saturday, and we'll get into the tonight's Go Home Raw. So for this, Saturday's Money in the Bank event, which is being held up in Toronto, Canada, from the Scotsbank Arena in Toronto, Canada. already signed for Money in the Bank, of course. 6-man tag match in which you have WWE Universal and WWE champion Cody Rhodes teaming with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton to take on Bloodline members of Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. Sami Zayn defends the Intercontinental title against Braun Breaker. Of course, Damian Priest defends the WWE World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins, and thus far, the two Money in the women's Money in the Bank, in the women's Money in the Bank Money in the Bank match, Money in the Bank ladder match, already in the match, already qualified for the match. Naomi, former WWE Women's World Champion Naomi, former WWE Women's Champion Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyrie, and Tiffany Stratton, with one more entrant to be added into the mix tonight on Raw. And then on the men's side, LA Knight, Andrade, Jey Uso, Chad Gable, Carmelo Hayes, and one more to be added again tonight on Raw. And speaking, of course, of Raw tonight, tonight's Go Home Raw, that's being held in Boston, Massachusetts, being held at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. The show is going to open up with Xavier Woods taking on Karrion Kross. In the final triple threat qualifying matches for this weekend's Money in the Bank ladder match, on the men's side, Sheamus will be taking on Drew McIntyre and Ilya Dragunov, who was just recently called up from NXT. And then on the women's side, Damage Control's Dakota Kai, Zoe Stark, and Ivy Nile. You'll have a battle of father and son as Rey Mysterio takes on his son Dominique. And then the women's world title will be on the line as Liv Morgan defends against Zelina Vega. So now we're done with the wrestling wrap-up. So now, of course, today being Monday, July the 1st, 2024, let's take a look back at this day. Meets history. So, first off, we're going to head back to 1994. As on this date back in 1994, professional wrestler George Crybaby Cannon passed away at the age of 62. I know many of you probably may not know the name, but George Cannon was a star in the 70s, so I'll just read a portion of his. So, George Arnold MacArthur, better known as George Crybaby Cannon, was a Canadian pro wrestler and wrestling manager, best known as manager of the Fabulous Kangaroos. The Kangaroos were a very famous old, tag team from the 50s and 60s, originally comprised of Al Costello and Roy Heffernan. Cannon was born, Cannon hosted a weekly variety show on KTLA Los Angeles from 1968 1970 when he returned. All right, so basically, George Cannon wrestled and let me see. He would wrestle from 1953 to 1970. Passed away at the age of 62. Kind of a big fat guy. Let's see. MacArthur worked for the American-based International Wrestling Association run by IWA in 1975. MacArthur performed many duties, including wrestling, managing wrestlers, and booking events. MacArthur was also involved in several other. So basically he was a wrestler manager throughout the upper Midwest portion of the United States, as well as Midwest to Eastern Canada. But on this date, 30 years ago today, he passed away at the age of 62. So, anyways, moving on to the next piece of niche history. All right, so on this date, 20 years ago today, on on this date, 20 years ago today, Viewworks OVA Kishin Hoko Demon Bane was released on this date back in 2004. So 20 years ago today, Viewworks OVA Kishin Hoko Demon Bane was released on this date 20 years ago today. Now moving ahead to 2009. Moving ahead to 2009 here. On this date, 15 years ago today, in 2009, the 150th issue of Savage Dragon went on sale on this date back in 2009. 15 years ago today, 150th issue of Image's Savage Dragon went on sale on newsstands on this date. In 2009, it was $5.99 at the time, and it was 96 pages. So for that number of pages, that I guess is considered an okay price there. So, and finally, on this date, 5 years ago today, Cartoon Network Studios, Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart premiered on Cartoon Network on this date back in 2019. So 5 years ago today, Cartoon Network Studios Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart premiered on Cartoon Network on this date back in 2019, 5 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Be back here tomorrow night with more niche news, of course. Also, of course, this Friday, I'll have the metal with me, as we will be going over comics that went on sale, and we'll be continuing our coverage of comics that went on sale on March 40, focusing in on MLJ Enterprises, which we now know today as Archie. And we'll be looking at the story arc of the Monsconian Menace. That was a multi-feature, multi-issue crossover story featuring the Shield and Midshipman in Pep Comics, as well as the Wizard and West Pointer in Top Notch Comics. So with that, I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye. Oh, actually, I hit the wrong button there. Actually, that's where I wanted to go.